mean, Rev, Biden should say game on. I'll debate you, once a week if you want, because Trump is the one whose poll numbers plunged from the low 40s to the low 30s when he started talking every day. When he went to the podium and started doing, open mic session in the briefing room as Americans were dying 1,000, 2,000 a day from a global pandemic that Trump made worse at every turn and still does. That's when Donald Trump's numbers went from, kind of the low to mid 40s to the low 30s and some days into the 20s.
You're absolutely right. What Joe Biden ought to do is exactly what you said. Say game on. Let's have more debates. And if I were Joe Biden, I would watch all of those press conferences. I was in the debates, the Democratic primary debates in 2004. And one of the things you do, you learn this in athletics, especially boxing, study the opponent. If he would watch those press conferences, how this president, if you hit him with a hard question, he would just unravel in front of the whole country. He is the one that can't take a punch, not Joe Biden. He is the one that cannot take someone coming straight at him. He is good at bullying. He is not good when somebody swings back, but swings back not in a way that is like Trump, where it's all bluster, but surgical and right there and right down the middle. Here's a man that some of his closest associates have all been indicted, many convicted. If he wants to throw mud, all you have to do is surgically raise the questions about his own associates that he brought in the White House, and then go back to policy and go back to dealing with how you want to heal the nation. I wouldn't concentrate on just beating them down. I'd give them a little whipping, and then I'd go back to my main theme.
I mean, Heather, you could also watch the interview that Donald Trump agreed to do with Jonathan Swan, or the one he agreed to do with Chris Wallace, where he looked like a fool.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Donald Trump's numbers can't get much lower. And so what was important about the Democratic convention was that it walked a fine line. Up until the convention, we were, I think, a little bit worried that it was going to all be about Donald Trump and telling us more of what we know, which is that he's not a great guy. He doesn't have great character. He's incompetent, all of these things. That was the 2016 playbook. And so what really needed to happen during this convention this week was the character of Joe Biden needed to be defined, as well as the proactive vision of the Democratic Party for the country. Because people are clear, across independent swing voters, et cetera, that what's happening right now isn't great. That doesn't mean they love the Democrats, and that doesn't mean they love the Democrats' pick. I expect to see those numbers go way up because of how relentlessly the production team's focus was on who Joe Biden is. I mean, when he said that, when his grandchildren said they call him every day, I personally was like, I need to call my grandmother more. I mean, he's already as someone who's sort of an exceptional human being. And then, even though it was light, and I would have liked to have seen more of it, there was a fair amount of policy. He did name climate change as one of the big crises, and not just, the near depression and the pandemic. He did name, a whole agenda from infrastructure to childcare that was going to be important. And so I do think we need to remember that Americans have to vote for something. To organize, to stand out in the rain, to overcome voter suppression, there has to be a voting for.
Phil Rucker, let me show you some of what the president is turning to in addition to making it harder for people to vote by mail, sending law enforcement to the polling places. This is from Hannity last night.
My question to you then is, are you going to have poll watchers? Are you going to have an ability to monitor to avoid fraud and cross-check whether or not these are registered voters, whether or not there's been identification to know that it's a real vote from a real American?
We're going to have everything. We're going to have sheriffs, and we're going to have law enforcement, and we're going to have, hopefully, U.S. attorneys, and we're going to have everybody and attorney generals. But it's very hard.
It's actually not hard. After the 2000 election, Phil Rucker, Jim Baker, and Jimmy Carter looked at this, and in-person voting fraud is pretty rare. I mean, where's the president getting his facts on this?
Well, Nicole, this is a president who lost the popular vote in 2016 to Hillary Clinton and convinced himself and was encouraged by allies who planted this idea in the president's mind that the only reason he lost was because of rampant and widespread voting fraud, so much so that he set up a White House commission to investigate this fraud. The commission found nothing. There is no evidence of widespread voting fraud for 2016. He lost the popular vote because more Americans, 3 million more Americans voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for Donald Trump. But nonetheless, the president is fixated on this idea of voter fraud and this idea of himself as a victim. And it seems to be, and it's according to our reporting, part of a strategy to try to sow doubt among the American people about the legitimacy of this fall's election and lay the groundwork for him to be able to contest the results after the election.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.